What's up everybody, my name is KSaun and welcome back to the WDL War of the Visions Draft League Week 3. If you haven't watched the first 2 weeks of matchups or the draft analysis video, I highly encourage going to check that out before you watch this video. We have 5 different matchups today, 10 total teams, and if you don't remember from the first 2 weeks, this is where the standings currently lie. So in first place we have a 2-way tie between the Sappers and the Ferrets, a 2-way tie for third between Soldier First Class and Wondrous Shoopufs, a 4-way tie for fifth between the Sheerans, Slim Chance Brigade, Perfect Storm, and Strawhats, Golgari Swarm alone in 9th, and Bebop's crew in 10th. However, it is 9 weeks. Every single week, if you win your series, you get 3 points, so there's so much time for these teams to come back, and we'll see how the standings look at the end of week 3. So without further ado, let's get into this first matchup. For the first matchup today, we have JEBAW and the Sappers from that guild Rebirth and JesusLBL from the guild Get Swifty coaching up the Strawhats this week. The Sappers currently sitting in a tie for first place, and JesusLBL coming off his very first win last week. This matchup should be really interesting. Things that I kind of just want to point out, JesusLBL's team, I think I've kind of said this before, a little bit top heavy in the sense that Starlight Elena and Leela the Bold are both just very, very strong 100 cost units. I do expect to see Whisper because I think at a 70 cost, she's just a very, very efficient or cost efficient tank. And ultimately, I expect to see Vistral. The biggest thing here is, to me, for JesusLBL, does he think Leela the Bold works better, or does he think Starlight Elena works better? And I would be surprised to see anything other than Whisper and Vistral as a pairing right now. Once that Final Fantasy Tactics EX comes out, which should be this week, I do expect to see more action from Ramza and Gafgarian, but as of right now, the way that the costs kind of pan out for Jesus' team, I think those are mainly the 2 teams that he can run. Either one of these 2, Whisper with Vistral, is kind of the probably most successful thing that he can do. Map specifically, he may want to run Fina instead of Whisper. I could see that being a possibility as well, but that's pretty much what he's working with right now, if I had to assume. For JEBAW and the Sappers, one big thing that he's been running is this dual tank setup, Ravis and Dario Horn. He's actually undefeated when he's used both of them at the same time, and he's been running it with Ibarra. In this map or this matchup, I could see a potential situation where he does that same thing, except he could run Ibarra because she does have Counterman Slash with increased accuracy, which I think you do want to bring some accuracy into this matchup. He also could run Summer Jaden. Summer Jaden has a guaranteed hit. He also is a pretty accurate unit, so I think either one of those things could be a good option for him. The only other thing that I could see him doing is running some sort of team with Summer Lilith because she does have a guaranteed hit barrage. However, she just doesn't bring the damage that one of these other 2 units brings. So it should be interesting, and we'll see how this plays out. Alright guys, so match 1 here between JEBAW and JesusLBL. Full disclosure, I have watched this fight already. This is one of the craziest fights I have ever seen in my life, so make sure you guys pay attention to this one because it's going to be pretty wild. So JesusLBL coming in with his Starlight Elena Whisper Vistral comp, and JEBAW coming with the Summer Jaden Ravis Dario Horn. So Starlight Elena is going to walk forward, get her Courage online, which is always a really, really good move. Vistral is going to use Locke's TMR to buff agility and luck for the entire party, and then Whisper is going to use her tank buff before Summer Jaden walks right up and basically gets in kind of danger because he's out in front of the tanks, uses Maelstrom Jet to hit Whisper for about 3k damage. So the thing is, these 2 tanks are actually behind Summer Jaden. So if Jesus' team can walk up and hit Summer Jaden, JEBAW could be in a world of trouble. So Starlight Elena is going to do just that. So she walks up with the Limit Break, hits the damage onto Summer Jaden, actually drops his agility, which could help them quite a bit, actually help Jesus' team quite a bit, because now you're going to see Starlight Elena is actually going to get another turn before Summer Jaden does, which is crucial because she's going to walk up, auto attack the Summer Jaden. Now is a 3v2. So looking at this fight, it looks like it's pretty impossible for JEBAW to win this. I mean, I just can't imagine he has enough damage unless he has something up his sleeve, which he does. Ravis does this Steel Heart, so lands the Charm on Starlight Elena. So even if you are not accurate enough to hit an evasion unit, you can actually charm them. So Whisper's going to walk up, get a taunting spell, so she has hate. But now Starlight Elena with the charm is going to turn on her friend, going to turn on to Whisper, do a ton of damage. And now she is probably about one attack away from dying. And Vistral actually drops 7k damage on the Dario. So this Vistral actually looking really, really impressive in this matchup. Lux Overflow comes out, so Jesus's unit takes out his own teammate. And what can Ravi's do? She actually charms the Vistral too. So not sure if that's actually a good strategy, because now Starlight Elena is not going to attack Vistral. Now they're allies, but then her charm runs away. So now Vistral tries to attack her. She's too evasive, drops the anti-evil, so she can't be hit. Now they are both charmed again. So if the charm counter going off right now is total at 3 currently. So there's been 3 successful charms up to this point. They're just going to sit and buff each other. Everybody's just going to get along instead of fighting. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So she's going to pop her evasion buff again. Ravi's, what is she going to do? She can't land any damage. She's just not accurate enough. So she's just going to sit back and charm somebody whenever they're uncharmed. So Starlight Elena actually channeling a spell gets magic reflexed by her own teammate, thankfully, because that Spirit Breaking Pain, if that hits, that probably kills Vistral. So Ravi's now gets her 4th successful charm onto Vistral. Starlight Elena finally gets some damage onto Ravi's, but what can Vistral do against his own teammate? 8,000 damage, so he procs the courage from Starlight Elena. She is 1 hit from dying right now. Ravi is going to save her life though, because she is going to charm her again, which means Vistral will not attack her. And if you're counting, that is 5 successful charms up to this point. There's 5 turns left in this fight. Can they kill Ravi's, or will they kill each other? That's the question. Starlight Elena actually channeling a spell to kill the Vistral, but if you don't know, while you're channeling a spell, you're actually not evasive like you would normally be if you're not channeling that spell. So Ravi's actually is able to walk up, auto attack her, and kill her, preventing Starlight Elena from killing Vistral, which would have actually helped her out. So Ravi's walking up and killing the Starlight Elena actually brought her own demise, and she unfortunately loses due to turns. Vistral actually wins this matchup. So Ravi's, if she would have just sat back and not autoed Starlight Elena, barring a magic reflex, I think wins this game. This is probably the most insane fight I've ever seen. She landed 5 successful charms, and they had absolutely no business winning that fight, and they almost won it. So curious to see if JEBAW plans any differently in match 2. Considering the Summer Jaden died so early, this match was actually a lot more competitive than I thought it would be. But let's see how match 2 changes up. All right, so match 2 here, same compositions as last time, so you have to wonder if the placement is going to be different from JEBAW. Like I said, he doesn't seem to modify his initial placement, he just moves which one is in which spot, essentially. And I can already see Ravi's is in the middle instead of Summer Jaden, so he should be safer in the back line than he was last time, instead of him getting out front. And let's see how this changes up the matchup. Does it end up any differently by doing that? Suns Out, Guns Out comes up, so he gets an AoE agility up and gets his own AP going, so he should have absolutely no AP problems during this fight since he used that buff. Dario, what is he going to do? He's going to pop the Sentinel and get into the middle of the fight here. So 2 tanks up and running with Summer Jaden in the back. Does it play any differently? Ravi's actually tanks that fairly well. The thing is, Starlight Elena, even though she doesn't always do a ton of damage right out the gate, really stacks up those chains incredibly well. Now, Whisper just hits a taunting spell, so continuing that slash chain, what can Summer Jaden do before Starlight Elena goes? He's going to pop the limit break, so this is not a guaranteed hit. Is he accurate enough to hit the evasion units is the question. He is not, so he actually misses Starlight Elena and Vistral. Gets some damage down on Whisper, but man, that slash chain is just nuts, and she carves through the Ravi. So 2v3, but the main carry, Summer Jaden, is still alive. What kind of damage can he do while this other tank is still up? So 3,400 damage from the Vistral, and Starlight Elena is going to go next. Can she kill Dario? The answer is yes. So Summer Jaden is going to have to pull out some absolute magic to keep JEBAW's win streak alive. He is currently 2-0 in the standings. Can he pull off this 1v3 with Summer Jaden? Midsummer Sniper comes out, kills the Whisper, but what can he do against both of these units? That's a ton of damage coming on the Vistral from 5,500. And yeah, some Starlight Elena, 8,700 damage onto the Summer Jaden. So somebody finally takes down JEBAW. I was not able to do it. Unhindered was not able to do it. But JesusLBL gets his second win of the year. So they're actually going to be tied at 6 points apiece. So very well played by Jesus. That first fight was absolutely nuts. One of the craziest fights I've ever seen. And let's see what this second match brings us. All right, so for our second series of the day, we've got Unhindered from the guild Saffron with the Perfect Storm versus SurfTaco of the guild Ohana and the Sheerans. Both teams are tied at 3 points currently in the standings, so this is very, very important matchup for both of them. Just looking at the elemental counters here, it looks like Unhindered has a lot of wind, Sheerans have some ice, but then the ice gets beaten by fire, and fire gets beaten by water. So playing this kind of, you know, elemental triangle musical chairs whole thing here, if I had to guess, I think that Perfect Storm probably goes wind just as a safer option, and I think Sheerans probably goes water. I think wind is a little more safe here because you have to assume Sheerans doesn't want the ice to get countered by fire, and water doesn't get countered by anything specifically and is just a really strong team. So if he runs something like Astraeus, Glaciella, Phoebe, that's a team he has run before to very good success. And from Unhindered, he has a number of good wind options, so I expect to see one of those, and let's see how this match plays out. All right, so match number one between these two teams, we've got Astraeus showing and Lucia showing for the two teams. So it does look like that water team with the Phoebe Time Mage. We'll see which win units that Unhindered is bringing, as he does have a number of them that he can bring for round one. So he's running Lucia, Ayaka, and Cyrell, actually. Cyrell, this is her first showing in WDL, War of the Visions Draft League. We haven't seen her yet, so this should be really interesting. So Astraeus is going to get his buff off that gives him courage, gives him defense piercing, AP consumption down, I believe. Just an insane buff. And Glaciella is going to go Dragoon's Pride. So this is a strategy that SurfTaco has used very, very effectively in multiple situations. He has one unit run the Kane TMR to get that movement and haste up, and then he has his Time Mage haste the other unit and then just pop quickens over and over and over on these two units. If you have two strong damage carries, this is a very effective strategy, and it's not surprising at all that I'm seeing SurfTaco run this again, as it's worked so well previously. Tons of damage chained down here between the Glaciella and the Astraeus. Lucia's popped almost instantly. However, Ayaka is sitting in the back. Looks like she's probably going to channel a full life here. So what can Cyrell do? About 3,200 damage to Glaciella. Not a ton. Glaciella does inherently bring a lot of slash resistance. Not sure if that's something that SurfTaco is stacking up or not, but would not surprise me at all. So it does pop the full life on Lucia. So now it is a 3v3 again. However, Astraeus is an absolute animal. Cross Destruction brings down both of them. There's going to be another Quicken on him. Can he go 3 for 3 here? And he's going to pop the Limit Break on Cyrell, and you have to imagine with a unit this powerful, she's probably about to get one shot. 7,709 damage and another 3k with the follow-up attack. Astraeus showing exactly why he was picked so early by SurfTaco here in the draft. If you haven't seen the draft analysis video, Phoebe and Astraeus were his very first two picks. He had the 10th overall pick, and he took them on round 1 and round 2. A very good showcase of why those picks were so strong. Let's see what Unhindered can respond with in match 2. All right, so coming into match 2 here, SurfTaco actually hovering the Aranea and Unhindered hovering the Regalia Glaciella. So SurfTaco did message me. He said that he was talking to his guildies, and his guildie said, no way that Unhindered runs fire in round 2 after he ran wind in round 1. Apparently he did. He called the bluff. So Unhindered actually running the fire into the ice team, it looks like. So Unhindered should actually have an elemental advantage here. Let's see how this match actually turns out, though. Okay, so Regalia, Glaciella, Ayaka, and Zazan. So not a full elemental counter. Regalia Glaciella looks like she's going to be the main carry. Ayaka does have Time Mage sub, so probably going to be some hastes onto her. She does not have Quicken, though, unfortunately. Curious what the Zazan is going to do here in this matchup. He is only 20 cost, so they're definitely under the cost limit here, but I don't think Unhindered had a 40 cost real solution here that he could have ran with this team. So what is Zazan going to do? Ayaka is going to sit back and haste the Regalia Glaciella, and SurfTaco is going to do his typical double haste Quicken comp with the two major carries. So this comp worked, or not the same comp, but this strategy worked very well in round 1. Victoria's actually going to jump up and try and do damage to the Zazan, and the fact that RNA is buffing in her face tells me that this is going to one-shot the Zazan, because RNA is smart enough to know that her partner has this kill, so she's actually just not hitting him whatsoever. So Zazan should be dying anytime soon. There it comes, Shattering Dive. He goes down in one hit. Regalia Glaciella is channeling though. Regal Tranquility damage caps the RNA at 12,000 damage, and that was not even a crit. So she has plenty of damage. So the question here is, can she kill the Victoria before Victoria goes off on these two units? Shell is there for backup quickens. Victoria, fortunately for her, is up in the air on the jump. Damage caps the Ayaka, so tons of damage cap coming off in this fight here. She auto attacks Regalia Glaciella, didn't have enough AP, and actually, very, very crucially, Regalia Glaciella has a barrier break. So Victoria's 100% damage shield that makes her essentially ignore damage for the first time does not do anything. She does actually magic reflex the shell. I can't imagine that would have done a ton of damage anyway, but she does get the magic reflex off, and you have to assume... Well, 2895. Actually, the 2895 damage was not bad. And now the more and more I think about that, if Shell actually got 2 abilities off, that looked like it almost did half the amount of damage. It's possible that Shell could have won that fight without the magic reflex. It's hard to tell without seeing it. You know, in hindsight, I'm not really sure. But GG, congrats to Unhindered getting that second match win. So we are going to go to a game 3. So does SurfTaco go back to his water squad, and does Unhindered have an answer for it? Let's find out. So it is pretty much exactly like what we expected. SurfTaco going to go back to the water squad. It did so incredibly well match 1. They actually picked up a clean 3-0, I believe. So not surprising that he went back to it. And Unhindered, probably knowing that he was going to go back to water, actually switches up his team comp. Goes back to wind, but this time takes a words are hard. Takes a true tank in Joom. And I think this could be a really good adaptation. If he's able to tank up enough damage, Winter Luartha deals plenty of damage on her own. Like, she should be able to be the main carry here if Joom can take damage. And actually, they have Zazan on the flank as well. He does damage also. So if Joom can buy maybe 3 or 4 hits, I think the win team does have a chance here. We'll see how it goes. So got the 2 hastes off. Like normal for SurfTaco's strategy. Armor Piercer comes down. That is barely any damage by Joom, actually. I'm not sure how much innate pierce resist she has, but that was almost negative damage. Like, that was non-relevant damage. Cross Destruction comes out, so he does not have a big enough AoE to hit both Joom and Zazan. Fortunately for Zazan here. And Zazan actually running, it looks like the Kane TMR, because he has haste and move up. Storm and Ren comes out, and Glaciella is actually almost dead already. So this is already a much better job, it looks like, from Unhindered rather than the first fight that he brought out, or the first comp that he brought out. However, that's a good amount of AoE damage coming out from Glaciella. Quicken comes off right before his turn would have went. So not a ton of value from the Quicken. But he does get the limit break off. Does this kill Joom? This is really, really important. 6,000 damage, Crystal Tracer 2910. It does take her out. So the tank is down. Can Winter Luartha hit an AoE on these 2 units? No, she actually goes for the Phoebe. That is crucial, because if she hits both of those units instead, I don't know, Glaciella doesn't get her damage off right here, and then Zazan might be able to kill or at least proc Courage on Astrius. Her going for the Phoebe, I think... that's pretty rough. It is a 1v1 though. Can she take out the Astrius? Does she do enough damage to kill him? She's going to pop the limit break. So this is crucial. I think he does have Courage up though. We'll see. 7493 doesn't actually quite proc the Courage. He has 336 damage. And yeah, Astrius is going to walk up, one hitter. Much, much closer fight than match 1 though. GG to SurfTaco and Unhindered. Congrats on the win for SurfTaco. That was an awesome match. Glad we went to game 3, since last week we literally had no game 3 matches. But yeah, really, really great matchup, guys. And we'll check the next one right now. All right, so for matchup number 3, we basically have a fight for first place here. So since we know that Jesus beat JEBAW, they are currently tied at 6 points. Turambar has 6 points going into the week, and MaechenX has 4 points going into the week. So whoever wins this is at a minimum tied for first place, if not first place on their own. So very, very big matchup here. And let's see what we got. So Turambar, even though he has this really awesome 100 cost Velas pick, We've yet to see it. The 2 comps that he has run so far is his Dark comp, which is very, very strong. Joker, Garvel, and Renell. And the other combo that he ran last week to great success, was Sakura Engelbert Garvel. He just has some really good picks for their cost value, so I expect to see one of these 2 teams coming out this week. In terms of MaechenX and the Wondrous Shoopufs of Guild Lucis, and I'm sorry for not saying it, Turambar of Guild Get Swifty. So MaechenX here, I don't imagine that he goes Evasion. Garvel having Detonation Blast, a big damage AoE ability that's guaranteed hit. I guess I would just surprised if he goes Evasion. In my mind, I expect to see Curry to try and get a Frostbite on the team. Eliza brings a lot of good damage, and Fryavi is a really good tank. I expect that team to kind of come out. One thing that I will note though, fortunately for Turambar here, Joker actually has 50 innate Frostbite resistance. So this is actually kind of a counter to MaechenX's team if he brings that Curry, which he has brought to quite a few different matchups. So let's see if this actually turns out how we think in practicality, with Joker being able to get around that Frostbite. Maybe MaechenX can pull out something cool. We'll see what happens. All right, guys, so match number 1 between these 2 teams. We've got the Fryavi showing and we've got the Joker showing. So with Joker, I expect to see a full Dark team. It's just a very, very strong team. It's probably the strongest 3-man in our entire league, if I had to guess. I've said that a few different times. I stand by it. I think it's so good. This ability by Joker is just so strong. Getting AoE protect on the entire team and then a physical magic shield on himself. Renell gets AoE resist buff on the entire team, and now Garvel has a shield. So 2 of them have shields, all of them have protect, and all of them have AoE resist on 1 turn. That is an incredible amount of bulk that you set up in 1 turn, and unless you have a way to break shields and or dispel, like honestly, there's just really not a way to get through that without just buying time and waiting for those buffs to run out. So Curry's going to go off on his own, and actually Joker is actually going to get AP up and his defense piercing rate up. So Shadow Dance comes out from Renell, gets the evasion up, and she actually also gets a shield. So all 3 of these units have some sort of other buff, a shield, protect, and AoE resist. So let's see how much damage she can do. That is nuts. Eliza does so much damage, and she basically only did like 2k to the Renell. That is how good this early setup was by Turambar. So very, very smart move by him. Fryavia basically does negligent damage to the Garvel. A little bit more damage coming out here from Curvy just because the chain is stacking up on Renell. But what kind of damage can Joker do to the tank? 5k is a really good start. However, Fryevia is a beefy girl. She's got a lot of health, so can they break through her? Twin Chi Rupture coming from Garvel, so now she's sitting at about 40% health. Toxic Assault is not going to kill, so Fryevia lasts the entire rotation. How much AoE damage can Eliza get off on the team? What is she going to do? She's stalling. Is she going to limit break? No. Greater armor piercing arrow. She doesn't go for the AoE. She just takes out the Renell, so it's at least a 3v2. Fryavia's AI, though, is a supportive AI, so even though she's a tank, she's actually going to heal instead of trying to get damage off, which could be good. Frostmaw Barrage comes out, but again, that innate Frostbite resistance from Joker is so huge here because he has AP. If not for that resistance, he would probably not be able to use any abilities right now, only be able to auto attack, and this could be very different. The Frostbite did land on Garvel, however, he starts with so much AP, he still has enough AP for skills. Unavailable Pain comes out and one-shots the Eliza. You have to imagine that this fight is over at this point. I can't see a situation where Kirby 1v2s this. But yeah, that Frostbite resistance from Joker is just another reason why that unit is so incredibly good. He's very bulky, a ton of good damage, and he resists one of the only things that can take away your AP. Just a really awesome unit. Congrats to Turambar. At this point, he has won 5 games and lost 0. Can MaechenX win the next one is the question. Can he finally take a game off of Turambar? We'll see. So match number 2 here, the same hovered units. We still have Fryavia, we still have Joker. I did see a higher magic stat coming from MaechenX though, so curious to see. We do get that Sweetheart Solir instead of the Eliza, and we'll see if he can come up with any other strategy that works against this. Looks like the exact same early turn rotation from Turambar. It worked so well round 1, and Turambar did send me some of his thought process going into this match. And essentially his thought process was he expected to see Curry because he just works really well in that cost formation for MaechenX's team. He said that basically if he could make Curry's damage non-existent, well, now all of a sudden he's only working with a 1 damage carry since Fryavia really doesn't do damage. So a very smart move by Turambar here, using all of these physically bulky abilities with AoE resist that works against Frostmaw Barrage, the shields work against it, protect works against it. Really smart move. I expect he also probably stacked up some missile resist, so that is why Curry is doing such low damage in these fights. So very, very smart move by him. So anyway, this damage starts to pop off. Chi Shot not doing a ton to Fryavia. It looks like she actually guarded that also. I think that was from her reaction ability. So still sitting with 6,900 health, so pretty good start. Sweetheart Salir gets the re-raise up too, so you're going to have to kill her twice, which is pretty big. Curata comes off, so a pretty good early turn from MaechenX, but again, can he get through that ball? Can he do enough damage? Frostmaw Barrage comes off, does a little bit of damage, but again, only frostbites the Garvel. That innate frostbite resist is just a really tough matchup for MaechenX here. So Garvel still sitting with 111 AP. Damage breaks or damage caps the Curry, it looks like. I'm actually thinking 11,099 was damage cap. I think Turambar probably just doesn't have all the damage limit up nodes on Garvel, if I had to guess. Pretty decent damage actually from Sweetheart Salir onto the Garvel, but Joker actually tanks that like a champ. He is just such a good unit. And Renell, very, very good at chaining with Joker here, which is really, really important. He gets the defense piercing up and the AP restore up. Can they live long enough for Sweetheart Salir to get another AoE off? Because she's really the damage carry. No, they can't. Oh, actually, she does have re-raise, so she's going to come back here. Can she do enough damage, though? This team is so bulky. What can she do? I expect another detonation blast. It is still not enough to kill any of them. This Dark Squad is just so terrifying. And now Fryav is going to be the only one left. So it is just a matter of time before they whittle her down. And Stunblade comes out, drops 6,400 damage, a clean 3-0 from Turambar. His team is just continuing to be impressive. Turambar, congratulations, 6 wins, 0 losses between all of his games. So not only does he have 9 points, he is yet to lose a single match. Who will be the team in our league to finally take a game off him? We won't find out till at least next week, if not later. But let's check out the next match. All right, so for our 4th out of our 5 matchups here, we've got my team here, Soldier vs. Class, versus Spike's team, Bebop's crew. And I will say, right out of the gate, even though Spike has 0 points, I do think his team is very, very solid. And I will say this might be my toughest matchup on paper. We'll see how it actually plays out in theory, but looking at this, I really don't know how many answers I have for this team. So just looking at the elemental side of things, right? My strongest group is typically a Cloud Charlotte team with either a Naya or a Liarte or something like that. I can always throw Niblu in there as well. I have 4 good lightning units in my opinion. So right out of the gate, he has Noctis Luel or Noctis Moraga that he can pair up with one of these really good 50 cost units. So immediately that deters me from playing Lightning. So a couple of things that I can do. One, I can either play Gargus to beat his wind, or I can play Evade and try and see if that works well for me. The biggest problem with this is if I play Evade, Noctis has guaranteed hits and Luel is like just insanely accurate. So there's definitely issues there with the Evade team. And then the Gargus, he has 2 really good ice units. So he has an ice tank and an ice pierce unit in McLeod. So this is a very, very tough matchup for me on paper. You're going to see in my first matchup, I decide to try the evasion group, and I'm going to try it with Naya to try and see if I can get a reflect. To potentially reflect back one of Luel's spells. However, this only works in some situations because not all of her spells are reflectable. So if she uses Law of Geo-Absorption, it will not work. It's a strike unit and it's not reflectable, so I could get screwed over by that. It just depends on what skill she uses is the big thing. The other thing is too, if I am using Gargus, even though it does work against wind and it gets beat by ice, like I said, if he runs Celis, Gargus is essentially useless in this fight. That's 2 full abilities that he's going to get off that Celis just completely absorbs. So on paper, like I said, this matchup is really, really rough, but let's see if I could find a way around it to get a win. Okay guys, so like I said last week, I'm going to try and do this every single week where I play. I just want to give you a quick screenshot of the team that I'm running here. So first of all, I have the Anima Esper, which is not the best, or sorry, I said Esper, Anima VC, which is not the best VC to run if you're trying to run full evade. But honestly, I just didn't know if I would have enough damage if I didn't get that penetration up high. I know that Nasha can be an absolute beast of a tank, and I wanted to make sure I at least had to try and get some damage to get through her. My thought process here was I was going to give Ruinstern re-raise and then also bring Naya to get reflect, hoping that if he did bring a magic damage dealer, one of those spells gets reflected, he has his 100% damage shield, and then he has re-raise. So hopefully you have to kill him multiple times or hit him multiple times for him to actually die. I have Venera just running a somewhat evadey setup. I have this bow tie on because I didn't want her to sprint forward too fast, and I also wanted to try and kind of direct buffs toward her. And then in terms of VCs, I mostly just have evasion VCs other than the Anima one. In terms of Naya, the water and ice, the slash resist item here, I think I just brought it because it has ice resist and I did expect to see some sort of ice here. I think I probably could have used something else if I wanted to, but that is why I brought that. And then I brought Locks TMR so that Naya, before she uses Reflect, would run towards Ruinstern or Venera to try and get agility and luck up. So we're going to come into match 1 here and we'll see how this actually plays out. So first of all, he runs Nasha, Noctis, and Luel. And immediately I see this team and I am terrified because like I said, Noctis has guaranteed hits, Luel is very, very accurate, and Nasha is just a really strong tank. So I think here, my only chance here is that if Luel uses a reflectable spell, and also if I'm able to get all of my buffs off perfectly beforehand. So we'll see how this goes. So Luel's going to use this agility up on both, try and get that speed up. Naya's going to use Treasure Hunter's Fortune, so agility and luck up on her and Ruinstern. And he has used his evasion buff already, so now at this point, I'm hoping he uses the zombie re-raise next. Unfortunately, he walks forward and actually gets the hazard rendered down, so he does drop the defense. Actually, I don't even think he did drop defense now that I'm seeing about it. I wonder if she had a lot of defense debuff resistance, because I didn't even see the defense down show up here. Earthen Invocation shows up. And Venera's going to walk forward. She is not actually in range to use anything, and I had her other buff turned off so that she would use the smoke screen buff first. I wanted her to use that no matter what. So Hien comes out, actually decent damage onto Nasha at this point. So we're carving through the tank, and he doesn't have a ton of sustain. She does get that shield back up, but what kind of damage can we do? Can we carve through the tank fast enough? And Spike actually uses a lot of magic resistance barriers because he was worried about Gargus showing up. Horizontal Shot comes up, does a little bit of damage to everybody, but not as much as I would like to see. Luel comes up, Law of Geo-Absorption is a strike attack, so even with the Reflect, it just really isn't going to do anything. It's not going to reflect anything, unfortunately. Naya's going to charge, though. She has full life, so it actually brings Venera back, so it is still a 3v3. Ruinstern, unfortunately, out of AP, especially because he wasn't able to get that re-raise ability off. So what kind of damage does Noctis do? 9,000 is plenty. One shot to Venera, so it is back to a 3v2. So Ruinstern's going to have to do some really heavy lifting to be able to win this. Nasha's going to walk up, get the Blade Bash onto Naya, so unfortunately she does get stunned, so she's not going to do anything once it's her turn. Devitalizing Glint comes out, and Devitalizing Glint actually breaks magic barriers. This includes Ruinstern's 100% damage shield. I also didn't account for this in my prep. Luel was an even harder counter to this evasion team than I even realized in the beginning. So not only does she have a skill that cannot be reflected with the Law of Geo-Absorption, so it insta-kills Venera, but then she also has Barrier Break. So not only did I not get my re-raise off, it ate through the 100% damage shield. So Ruinstern essentially just got killed in one hit. So very, very nice job from Spike. Really good preparation. Luel was honestly just such a hard counter to this team. I had no idea how accurate she could get. She had like 140 bonus accuracy or something insane. It was really, really high. So GG to Spike. And let's see how I adapt in round 2. Okay, so for round 2 here, I sat and thought about it for a little bit and just tried to think a little bit. You know, do I try and mind game him? Do I think he's just going to run the same team? Do I try Lightning and see how that goes? And my thought process was, if he only brings one Earth unit, I could bring 2 lightning units and potentially win this. That is definitely possible. However, if he brings the exact same team he did last time, I'm just going to lose, because Noctis can get up to 97% like lightning resist or something insane like that. So it's just a very, very hard counter for me to deal with. So I decided to go with a different team here. I brought Gargus, Charlotte, and Helena. Now what Helena does here is she has a buff that it buffs earth and wind resist for the party. So this works against Luel, it works against Noctis, it works against Moraga, and it also works against Sadali. So 4 of his units that are somewhat threatening for me, it mitigates their damage to some sort of extent. Charlotte is just really, really tanky. I also have her with that Golem Esperon, so she has more earth resist and has Brigandine for the AoE resist. And then I have Gargus as my main damage threat. So the way that this comp works is if Gargus is able to take down the earth units. I am hoping that with Helena's buff, Charlotte can last long enough for Gargus to basically 2-shot the earth units. That is kind of my hope. So we'll see what Spike brings and see how it works out. Okay, so match 2 here, he's got Nasha, Luel, and McLeod, unfortunately, instead of the Noctis. So we'll see how this goes differently. He doesn't bring double earth, he only brings 1 earth. So expecting my switch to win, he goes heavier into the ice. Very smart move for him. And McLeod has bells on and is on the side. I actually also have Gargus on the side because I was trying to hope that he could get on the side and just basically flank while Charlotte takes damage. Unfortunately here, he is going to run forward with Delightful Demon, so he needs to survive 1 hit from McLeod, or Charlotte needs to walk up forward enough for McLeod to hit her. If he hits Charlotte, I kind of like my chances here. I think he might do a decent amount of damage in this fight. So get the wind and earth resist up, a little bit of defense up, and McLeod has a lot of piercing. Can he reach Charlotte or not? He cannot. He rapid fires the Gargus, crits for 65-74, and Gargus goes down in 1 hit. So immediately, this fight is looking very, very grim for my team. I have almost no damage on this team other than Charlotte, and with an earth unit on the other team, it's just not looking very good to me. So my initial positioning, I probably could have tweaked it and altered it a little bit. I also didn't expect the McLeod on the side, like the exact same side that my Gargus was. That was very unexpected and unfortunate for me. Also, my Helena is running Time Mage sub instead of White Mage, so she does not have full life, but she does have a raise. If she was running White Mage, she might have potentially landed a raise there and could have brought him back. But realistically, he would still have to do a ton of heavy lifting here with very little health. I will say, though, Charlotte is tanking very well. She basically tanked a full rotation of abilities from the enemy team. Helen is going to walk up and drop the AoE resist. Not a terrible amount of damage. Like 2,000 is not bad into the tank. But it's just going to be a lost cause without Gargus, unfortunately, guys. So you're going to watch the slow bleed of my team. It is a 3v1, and the MR unit, Helena, is not going to be able to pull this out. Rapid fire comes out. McLeod gets a 2nd kill against my 2nd win unit. And unfortunately for me, it is a 2-0 loss. Spike takes me out. I'm not super mad about this, though. Like I said, I do think Spike's team is better than his record showed, and I also think that his team is one of the hardest matchups for me on paper. I also will say, we played a 3rd match for fun after these happened. He played his original team comp, and I played this comp that I made to try and beat his original team comp, and I actually won narrowly. So that tells me at least my response to the first game was pretty good. Unfortunately, him swapping to that McLeod was just a really, really good move by him. Unfortunately, instead of him winning in 3, he wins in 2. So I don't get any points this week, but it is what it is. No big deal. Let's get into this 5th and final match of the week. Okay, so for our final match today, we have Dr. Dickhead of the Guild Lapis with the Golgari Swarm versus Sandrooster of Get Swifty and the Slim Chance Brigade. So Dr. Dickhead sitting only at 1 point, really looking to try and get a win to climb up in the standings a little bit. He has one specific comp that he's run quite a bit. That is the Black Robed Witch Helena, Montleonis, and Little Leela Halloween. The other comp that he did run one time was Violet, Locke, and Mish. But I think the main staple of his account is that Little Leela Halloween, and especially that Mont. For Sandrooster, his most common team that he has ran is the Fire Ladies. And actually, I say most common, that's the only team that he's ran up to this point. So Terra, Summer Ketone, and Ishtola together. In this matchup, I will say I'll just share some thought process that I got from both of the players. Sandrooster thought that bringing Murmur could be a really good option this week just because she can stack such high resistances to either slash or magic, which were kind of basically the only 2 damage types that Golgari Swarm brings. And also felt like the Fire Mages were a pretty good answer considering he can run Evade. If he runs Evade, he felt confident that Fire would win. And they're just pretty good options into magic damage dealers. He did notify that the one threat here would be a Titus, but was hoping that because he has Lightning on his team, that would kind of deter Dr. Dickhead from running Titus. And from Dr. Dickhead's side, he kind of had a thought process that because Sandrooster has run so much Fire Mage teams, he felt like Mariel was a good magic tank, so he was probably going to run her instead of Montleonis. Little Leela Halloween is just really good for her cost, and he felt like Titus was a good option into the fire. So you're going to see in just a moment here, those are the teams that they go for match 1. Mostly fire from Sandrooster, and Dr. Dickhead actually expecting the fire in match 1. All right, so we've got Summer Ketone, Terra, and Murmur versus Mariel, Titus, and Little Leela Halloween. So it should be a really, really good match here. And Little Leela Halloween is going to run Zombie Transformation. This has been something pretty much a staple of Dr. Dickhead's teams. He's been running this almost every single week on Little Leela Halloween. It's just a really good option, especially considering that she has full life. So if she can stay alive, she can potentially bring other party members back as well. Terra gets the AoE buff, and Titus tries to go for the AoE Hastega. The only thing I will say here is that Dr. Dickhead did tell me he accidentally left bells on for Mariel. I'm not sure what she would have done otherwise. Probably some sort of AoE magic buff, if I had to guess. Some sort of magic resist buff, but unfortunately she does use bells and actually gets out of the way of the Hastega. So Titus only gets it on him and Little Leela Halloween, but still a pretty good buff overall, getting 2 hastes there. So she will step up a little bit, and he's going to pop Emerald Vitality. I do wonder if Dr. Dickhead has Old Doa's Apron, because Titus can actually use that TMR, and in my opinion, I think it's pretty much just straight better than Lucio's TMR, because it does give AP Restore like his does, but it also gives Defense Pen. So interesting strategy. I do wonder if he has the Old Doa TMR. Murmur actually gets the Magic Reflex, so avoids a ton of damage from Little Leela Halloween. Even though Murmur can get a lot of magic resist, I assume her wind resist is not fantastic. So Titus walks up, Sphere Shot, almost 5k damage into the Summer Ketone. Considering the elemental disadvantage, not terrible, and Bursting Light comes out for 7,700, so one-shots the Little Leela Halloween. And so, interesting here, I'm curious if there's hate on Murmur here. She is off to the side, and Terra comes up, does the Crescent Riot Blade. This should be into Titus. Almost 5k, so actually quite a bit of damage considering the elemental disadvantage, but Little Leela Halloween should go for a heal here. And she does. Gets a high 2 Cura on the entire team, so everybody almost full health except for Titus. He's about 80%, I'd say. And what does he do? So this tells me Murmur has to have hate. He pops the Limit Break on her, and it basically does a total of like 3k damage, so not a ton. And he definitely could have taken out Summer Ketone, so she does run hate here. I don't know if it's Vow of Love or a bow tie or something like that, but a very good strategy from Sandrooster, using that 40 cost high resist unit to try and take damage from the other team. Hazard Slash comes out though. Can Terra get rid of the Mariel? She can. 11,000 damage, so now it is a 2v2. Little Leela is up. What is she going to do? She's going to start channeling, so this should be a full life. What can Titus do? Can he get over to kill the Summer Ketone? He can. Sphere Shot. 3459 will take her out. So now is a 2v1. Full life should go off. And now this is a 3v1. So Terra's going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting to come back from this. Meltdown Plus does a ton of damage though. Little Leela Halloween dies in one hit, and Titus actually almost died. If she can kill Titus, I think she can still win this. But no, Jack Shot coming down 9,000 damage. Actually, I don't even think that Proctor Courage did it. It didn't. So Mariel auto attacks her. So she has 1 health at this point. Meltdown Plus comes out again, kills the Titus. Who goes next though? Does it Mariel or Terra? Mariel goes next. Gets the auto attack and kills the Terra. Honestly, if Terra had another turn, I think she kills Mariel and actually pulls out that 3v1. So that fight ended up actually being insanely close. And if Little Leela Halloween doesn't get that full life, I think Sandrooster actually wins this. So really, really good matchup. Considering the fact that Dr. Dickhead predicted the fire team, and that was actually still that close. Very well played by Sandrooster. Very, very well played by Dr. Dickhead with the call in match 1. And let's see how match 2 goes. All right, so match number 2. Looks like Sandrooster is running Murmur, Skahal, and Oberon. His thought process for round 2 here, he felt like Oberon was the least like counterable unit from Dr. Dickhead's perspective, and Dr. Dickhead predicted that he would go Lightning. So I think he predicted Skahal and Esther here instead of Skahal and Oberon, but he does get the 1 Lightning unit come out. So Dr. Dickhead brings the Halloween Rairyuu to try and combat the lightning element. Goes back to the Mont, also expecting the Esther to come out, wanted a more physical tank. And he actually adapted his position to get Mont out on the side to try and counteract the Murmur tank on the side too. So they are kind of off on doing their own thing here. Actually drops about 3,000 damage on a Mont from the Murmur. So not bad damage at all coming out from her. Skahal actually does have haste on himself, used that Renan TMR. Thundaga Disposer, 4,400 damage, and drops the lightning element resist. So he would kill him if he hit another one. The question is, though, he's out in left field. Does Rairyuu hit him? He does. Drain Evocation, that's going to be a one-shot. So Skahal is down already. This is looking bad here for Sandrooster. So Oberon's going to have to do a ton of work here. And unfortunately, with Mont running this far over... Actually, no, I'm sorry. That's on the other team, so it wouldn't really matter. So as long as Murmur stays there, these two should be able to go for Oberon, I believe. She does. Almost 7,000 damage to the Oberon. He is almost dead, but he's going to go next after Murmur. Can he one-shot these two units? Oberon does a ton of damage, so if he can, this could be huge. Although Zombie Rairyuu does have Courage. So the Limit Break comes out. Damage caps against Rairyuu, but again, he does have Courage. Little Lila Halloween almost dies, but I assume she heals. Normally her AI does this, so she does. Can Rairyuu reach the Murmur? Because this is huge if he can. If he can't, he's going to kill the Oberon. He apparently can't, and he kills the Oberon. He cannot reach the Murmur. If he reached her, I honestly think Oberon might be able to kill them the next turn. But that's actually really, really rough for Sandrooster. It looks like he's about to get 2-0'd by Dr. Dickhead here. And they should be able to just kind of slowly bleed him out with this 3v1. And Halloween Rairyuu already with 2 kills in this match, gets a 3rd with the Spell Breacher. So a clean 3 kills from Halloween Rairyuu, a 3-0 for Dr. Dickhead. Congratulations to him. Now he is at a total of 4 points. So definitely making the standings really, really interesting. So thank you guys for watching these, and let's check out the standings and the stats. All right, guys, so after all of those matches are completed, this is our newly updated standings after week 3. So all alone in first place. Finally, we don't have a tie. We just have one sole winner currently. It's Turambar. He has won every single match he's played, 6-0 total. So he has 3 series wins and no losses, 9 points in first place. Very well played by him. Jesus, JEBAW, and SurfTaco all tied for second now with 6 points, 2 series wins, and 1 full series loss. MaechenX, myself, Unhindered, and Dr. Dickhead all tied 5th place, 4-way tie for 4 points, with 1 win, 1 series loss, and 1 mitigated loss in our series. Sandrooster with the Slim Chance Brigade and Spike tied in 9th at 3 points with 1 win and 2 full series losses. So these standings are actually incredibly tight. Aside from Turambar just kind of stomping everybody right now, the difference between 2nd place and last place is literally 1 series win. So these standings continue to be very, very tight. This league continues to be very competitive, which is really, really cool. I love to see it. And let's check out some of the stat leaders. So first off, we have the kill leaders. We have a new kill leader now. It is a 2-way tie, but Astrius takes the #1 spot with 8 kills and 2.67 kills per match. Garvel is also tied at 8 with less per match. Going down the line, we have Ibarra, Leela the Bold, Starlight Elena, Cloud, Terra, Aranea, Ravis, and Sakura to finish out the stat sheet here. For the assist leaders, we've got Whisper all the way at #1 with 12 assists. She's played 4 matches. She's gotten 3 assists in every single match, so 12 assists total, which is just incredible. Renelle and Vistral also at 10. Phoebe, Joker, Dario, Glaciella, Wizette, Naya, Nasha, and Garvel finishing out the assist stat sheet. And the KDA leaders, number 1, Garvel with a 15 KDA, 8 kills, 1 death, 7 assists is incredibly impressive, especially the fact that Joker is number 2, a perfect KDA, 4 kills, 0 deaths, 8 assists. Then we got Astrius, Ibarra, Glaciella was at, Phoebe, Leela the Bold, Sakura Renell, and Ildira. Obviously, some of these stats dominated by a couple of teams who are doing very, very well right now, but I think it's always still interesting to check these out. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button and the subscribe button down below. I really appreciate it, and it helps with the algorithm. It helps more people see these videos. These are not videos that YouTube always tries to feed to people because they're kind of niche content. They feature a lot of niche units in PvP, and it's something that I'm having an absolute blast doing. I know a lot of the players in the league are having a blast, and it seems like a lot of you guys do enjoy watching this. So like I said, if you like it, share it with your friends, hit the like and subscribe button, sure would appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in week 4. Have a wonderful day.